Welcome to the Real Conversations podcast, the podcast dedicated to real stories from successful real estate professionals, with your host, Dan Edwards.
Good afternoon. I'm your host, Dan Edwards with Real Conversations, and I am here with Sunny Burruss, top real estate agent here at Keller Williams Bothell. Welcome to Real Conversations.
Thank you.
All right, so we are going to jump right in. First, I always ask everybody, tell me about the house you grew up in.
Oh, well, I grew up in a few different houses, but my most memorable one would be the one I grew up in Snohomish. It was my grandparents' place, and it was a rambler with a daylight basement. It had a full basement with like a bar, and it had a pool table over here, and one of the first big screen TVs where you had to pull the thing out, and it had the mirrors with the red and
the
yellow
lights
that shined up. And the coolest thing about that house was it had a swimming pool with a diving board and a slide. So I had to learn how to swim at a young age. So my grandparents did a lot of gatherings there.
I was going to say, so the parties were always at your place.
The parties were there.
All
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Snohomish?
I did. Primarily grew up in Snohomish.
Okay.
A little bit in Monroe, a little bit of Snohomish, and then back to Snohomish.
But born and raised, basically.
Born and raised Snohomish. And Snohomish, though, is my heart. I lived there for a couple of years, 8th and 9th grade, and my parents lived there for almost 20 years.
So for those that don't know, Snohomish is on Highway 2.
It is. About 16 miles from Stevens Pass.
Yeah, it's really close. So it's pretty rural.
It is.
Right?
It's fun town, though. I have a lot of good memories there.
And that was between 6th and 7th grade?
8th and 9th.
8th and 9th grade.
8th and 9th grade, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then you moved to Snohomish after that?
Back to Snohomish, back in with my grandparents, and graduated from Snohomish.
So back in the day, your parents just let you go do whatever and then come back when the lights are home?
Yeah,
when the lights went out, yeah.
I was the kid who got straight A's. I followed the rules. I still went to the keggers on the weekends, but for the most part, I could write my own letters because I knew how to write my mom's signature, and I would just call her and let her know I wrote a letter saying I'd be late to school or I needed to get out of school early for whatever reason.
You called her?
I would call, let her know that I was writing a letter and signing her name. So in case the school called, she would say, yeah, I wrote the letter.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Right. So you learned leverage early on.
I did.
How to use that. Okay. So then where'd you go to high school?
Snohomish High School.
Snohomish High School. Mm-hmm. Graduate. What is I don't know the alma mater.
Panthers.
The Panthers. Okay.
Yes.
So what?
So I went to college. Well, actually, while I was in high school, I did the Running Start program. I did 1 year at Everett Community my junior year. And then my senior year, I went back just to high school. I wanted to just kind of enjoy the last year of school. Mm-hmm. And then I went to Central Washington University for a year. Yep, Wildcats. And then I came back, went to Everett Community. And then that's when my grandma talked me to get my real estate license.
Really?
So I was 19.
19.
Mm-hmm.
And was your grandmother in real estate?
Mm-hmm.
She was.
She was. She and 2 other people actually started the Windermere in Snohomish.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So this goes back.
This goes back.
Your grandmother at age 19 convinced you, and then instant success?
I wouldn't say instant success, but I mean, it was, I definitely was, I think my first year I made like 14,000. And so that was actually pretty good year for 95.
19-year-old.
Yeah, for a 19-year-old.
Yeah,
so,
that's pretty good.
And so consistently kind of doubled my income. But
so as you're looking at this, because most of the time when I'm going through this story, there's a whole long line before people get into real estate.
Yeah.
And I talk to a lot of young kids that they're like, hey, should I get in real estate? Because they're like right in your situation.
Right.
Was it because it was a family business, or was there more? Like, was there more a passion for real estate because it was around the family?
I would say more of a passion because it was around the family. I actually always say that I really have been doing real estate since I was like 2, because I went on inspections and appraisals and all through high school. I cleaned the office. I was the cleaning lady of the office, and then the weekend receptionist, after school receptionist. So it's kind of in my blood. My grandma, groomed me from what I can remember. So
to do real estate. So you were probably a pretty good negotiator. Obviously you were forging signatures though.
Right. I was forging signatures.
As a teenager. Which she does not do in real estate. Just want to be clear. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of walk me through then. So since you've been in the business since
95.
So what was kind of your first brush with real adversity in the business?
Well, I guess it was kind of right off the bat, actually, because the biggest adversity that I came across was the fact that you're 19, 20 years old. How on earth are you going to sell me a house? I know way more than you. You're just a kid.
Yeah.
So it took some getting used to and getting kind of through those barriers. And I did use my grandma. I kind of went off the coattails of grandma and the fact that I'm like, well, I might be 19, but I've been really doing this my whole life. So I've been on inspections and appraisals since I can remember. So I've learned how to negotiate. I've been around my grandma most of my life. And so she was kind of like my second mom more than my grandma. So yeah, I guess the biggest first adversity was my age.
Yeah.
Was that I was young.
Yeah.
So.
And you overcame that by knowing your stuff and then also relying on your grandma to kind of help guide you through that process so that you had a good mentor.
I had a great mentor.
Okay. Yes. So that's fantastic. So tell me about a time where where kind of the deal fell apart, but you pulled it back together.
There's one that really comes to mind, and this is one I've actually talked about before, but obviously won't mention any names. But the client actually crawled in through the window and started living in the house 5 days before closing.
Oh.
Yes, I didn't know. The seller didn't know until like a couple days before closing, and of course the seller was very upset, and I was representing the buyer, and unbeknownst to me, he had done this, and so we kept the deal together, and it closed, and he just moved in a few days early through the window.
Didn't communicate. Yeah. That's so funny. That's funny.
No, that was back probably in my late 20s where that happened. So
what did he think? Why was he thinking that?
Well, his parents were actually buying the house for him, so he had some mental stuff going on. But yeah, I mean, he seemed like a pretty normal guy. So I mean, yeah, but it all worked out in the end, and the sellers were happy. Obviously, the buyer was happy. He was excited to get into his new house, I guess. Yeah.
So every year in real estate since '95, you've had growth years, yeah? Every year has been good? Pretty
much, yeah. I would say consistently. I mean, moving to Keller Williams in 2012 was a big shift. I mean, with education, with all the education that Keller Williams offers, I kind of had hit a cap at Windermere. I just wasn't really, I didn't know what I didn't know. And so moving to Keller Williams was a big culture change and education change. And so since moving to Keller Williams, my business has grown a lot more because I've been more focusing on helping clients and helping everybody as a whole rather than just, the next deal, I would say,
So if you're to evaluate, and I think, if you're to evaluate the idea, because I get a lot of people that will say the reason a lot of people should start at Keller Williams, but you came here.
I'm the opposite.
And I picked up a little bit on it is you're more focused on the customer experience now than the next deal.
Absolutely. I feel like, one of the things on my favorite paper that I hand out to my clients is on the last line is that you're stuck with me for life. So
that's cool.
And I mean that in a good way. Like I want my clients to be stuck with me for life together and be happy.
Yeah. Well, okay. And then you, in the last few years, have brought on leverage, right? Mm-hmm. And when did you realize that would be a net positive for you in your business? Because I know a lot of people that are like, I can do this well, and it's going to be hard for somebody to do it the way I want them to do it. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it. You see a lot of that independence here in our industry.
Yeah.
So when did you realize it was okay to do it? And then how did that process go for you?
Well, again, I guess moving to Keller Williams, I realized that was, I had never even thought of bringing on an assistant or somebody to help me with showings prior to even coming to Keller Williams and taking like the bold class and learning different, all the different education that Keller Williams offers. I never thought about that. It wasn't even a thing. And so then moving here, then I realized, hey, I'm going to hire a transaction coordinator, which was the first.
That was just automatic. When you came here, you're like, hey, I'm going to do this.
Yep. Okay. I hired Simona, and she's still with me since I moved to Keller Williams. And that was like huge aha. I was like, oh my gosh, all this time I've been wasting where I could be really more time focusing on my clients, the people, the time, rather than focusing on, all the side paperwork that really Simona does better than me anyway.
So, right. And how did you decide on Simona for your assistant?
For Simona for transaction coordination, some of the other agents in the office used her and said she was great. So I was like, well, let's give Simona a try.
So by referral?
by referral.
See, that's kind of ironic, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now you've got somebody that's taken over that leverage, but then you decided to add more leverage.
I did.
And before we get on to the more leverage, like you said, Simona, it can do it quicker and easier. So that allowed you to spend more time with the client. And that meant you could do more work with more clients.
For sure. Yeah. Work with more clients and give them more of a specialized one-on-one service instead of, worrying, being spread so thin. Right.
Well, how did that affect your family?
Well, at that time I didn't have any kids. And so I was just in the process of, we've been trying to have kids. And so it was actually 2 years later that my daughter was born after I moved to Keller Williams. And so that even became a huge, big, important, and still is the biggest driving factor in me having leverage, having an assistant. So now I do have Simona, and then hired Carolyn, which I've hired a few other people have come before Carolyn's. I tried buyer's agents, tried showing agents, and I had another assistant, Chris, who was amazing. And then she decided to go on her own and do different things. And so she actually trained Carolyn, who's my assistant now. And Carolyn is phenomenal. I tell her every day how much and grateful I am for her, because not only is she amazing with our clients, but she also has given me that ability to provide the level of service that I provide. I'd even say her level might be a little bit higher than mine even, right? And that she gives that amazing level of service to our clients. And biggest thing, allows me to spend a little more time with my family and really enjoy and be present with my family. So and
that's why we do this, right?
I was just going to say, there comes a point we got to have a reason why. And my reason is my beautiful kids and my husband. I want to be able to have not just there's a meme that shows a person sitting in the water on the beach with their laptop and their phone. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be, I've been that person.
You have.
I have. But that's, now that I have Carolyn and with Simona, I can actually be sitting on the beach and spending time with my family and not with my computer or my phone.
Well, and a lot of people, when they think of Keller Williams, they think of teams, they think of these giant teams, and that they're, a bunch of people cold calling and doing all this stuff that you're just not going to do. Your business is based on referral.
A referral, like 85 to 88% of my business. That's another thing I started doing, was tracking my numbers about 10 years ago, trying to figure out, where is the business coming from? And about 87% of my business comes from return or referral. So that's huge. I mean, all the people that already know and love me, so I'm grateful. Thank you all. Yes.
I love, and that's the whole idea, is you seek leverage for two reasons. One, to take stuff off your plate, and to have the kind of life that you're designing on purpose.
Absolutely.
So we have Bold coming up, and I understand you're planning on participating in that, and you have participated before. How many times?
7.
7 times?
Yeah.
What? And you're participating again?
Oh, I love it. It's great. Greatest class.
Okay. So tell me why somebody like you, she's got her platinum award here, platinum, which is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Why would you even need to take Bold again?
I feel like if it came every year, I would take it every year. Just it's not a classroom setting where you're sitting in a row listening to somebody speak at you all day long. You're actually sitting in round tables with groups. You're doing group activities. You are, getting information from a coach, and it's not really like it's a teacher. It's more like a coaching situation. And every Bold class that I've taken, you're getting flooded with so much information, so that you couldn't possibly take all of it in any one class. I mean, if you take 1 or 2 things from each class and implement just a couple things, then it's a win, right? Rather than taking all that information and trying to implement it all, then you're going to fail, right? Because it's too much. That's too much. So in my opinion, just taking the Bold class every year or 2 when it comes, and then take 1 or 2 things, implement those, and just focus on those things. And I mean, you can take Bold every year, and you can take 1 or 2 things every time out of it. And
so as we're talking here, I'm noticing a theme is, number 1 is education. Right? That's important to you.
Very important to me.
Number 2 is family, and using leverage to have family. And then number 3 is action.
Yes.
So taking action is that when you go to learn, right? I think a lot of people say, well, yes, you can go to, family reunion, you can go to these things, but if you don't actually take action. So I know you were at family reunion,
Yep.
Which was, Keller Williams annual conference where we get a lot of information. So what is something that you added to your business after family reunion?
So we were focusing on AI. I mean, a lot of the classes were focused around AI, but that's what we were focusing on, and just how to implement that in our business. I mean, I've already been dabbling in it, and I've already attended a few classes prior to family reunion, but the main thing the takeaway that I got that we've already implemented is YouTube Shorts. So we do a lot of videos already, but we weren't focusing on the YouTube Shorts, which apparently that's a good place to focus at for AI and to help you come higher up on when somebody searches on an AI search engine. And so, whether or not it'll help us in the long run, that's one of the things we're implementing.
So let's talk a little bit more about that tactic for you.
Yeah.
So you have a YouTube channel. Okay. And in that YouTube channel, you're doing some kind of content.
Yes.
About Snohomish or what?
So primarily just, maybe, yes, about Snohomish, or about, what are the top 5 things the seller should do to sell their home? Or what are the top 5 things the buyer should know before they start to buy real estate? Or we just actually completed a whole little short videos about Carolyn and I, because I think it's important for people to know, not just sell real estate and how can we help you with real estate, like we're doing now. I think it's important learning a little bit more about my background, where did I grow up, what, I have
the
2
personal
kids.
side of you, because people do business with people that they know, like, and trust.
Right.
Yeah. You've got the trust because obviously you've been doing this since you're 19. So,
right.
You've got that skill set. It's, do they like you? Which most people I know really like Sunny.
Yeah.
She's super sweet. Is there anybody that doesn't like you?
Oh, I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure they're out there.
Awesome. Okay. So you're adding shorts, which basically then point back to your YouTube channel and help raise the awareness of it. Right.
So we are focusing a lot more. I'm focusing on doing at least one video a week that maybe answers a question that somebody might have about real estate. The last video I just actually sent in this morning was, what is title and what does it mean? What is title insurance for? So just, and low cognitive load is another big word that we learned, is just trying to focus on, not everybody does this every day. And so, what does title insurance mean in simple terms, right? Stuff
basically
like
keeping it simple so that everybody, not talking in vernacular. See, I used a big word.
Right. Yeah.
Not using big fancy words to explain things, but things that anybody can understand. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. So if you're to give agents out there advice about today's market, what kind of advice would you give them in order for them to thrive?
So, not just in today's market, in any market, my baby is my database. My database is my baby. I spend 85% of my time on my database. Whenever I send out cards or letters, when I get a return, I make sure to reach out to that person and say, oh, I sent you a card. I see that it was returned. Do you have a new address? What is it? And then I have a system set up in Command so that I'm contacting my database. And then events, we do like 5 events a year. Some the office helps sponsor, some I do on my own. And pop buys is another big thing that we do. So like I said, 87% of my business comes from my database. And so we pop by usually around like Thanksgiving time. We'll pop by, we'll select a few from our database and pop by and bring a little cup or something for to appreciate
like
them.
on Valentine's Day, maybe a little bit of chocolate.
A little cup or something.
So something I want agents listening to this to hear is how she framed the name, her database. It's a baby, right? And you would really want to take care of it, right? And nurture it and feed it and those things. And what I find is a lot of agents will go, well, okay, I'm only putting the people in there that are buying and selling real estate. Is that a mistake?
Yes.
Okay. So who should go in your database?
For me, I keep everybody in there that at least knows me. I mean, I don't, I could always be adding to that, right? It's always adding, but there is times that I take away too, like I still will keep people if they move out of state. I still keep them in my database because they lived here before. They still have family and friends that are here. So, and oftentimes I've had a lot of referrals from people who have moved out of state who have actually said, oh, well, my sister still lives in Washington and, you need to use Sunny. So
there you go.
So I still keep people that are out of state.
Do you send them market updates?
I do. Yeah. I still send postcards. And I actually just had somebody the other day who emailed me that was a client. I sold some land for him. And he emailed me and he said, I'm not going to come to the Easter egg event. You know that I'm in, I don't even remember what state he moved to be honest, but I emailed back and I said, well, that's great. I said, you still have family or friends here in Washington? Because if you do, I'd love for you to be my referring partner. And he said, I do actually still have family and friends there. So, okay, great. I'll still refer you to my family and friends.
Which is exactly the purpose of that event, period, is to have that FaceTime. Yes. And so in sending out that event, he's like, hey, remember I'm in Ohio. And you're like, I remember. Yeah. And you're always welcome to, if you're in town, to come say hi. Yeah. It's keeping that relationship.
For sure.
And people kind of push back on technology. They're like, oh, I just do this. I kind of pick these meetings out of my, all that. And it's why they don't have the platinum award. Right. Yeah. Because the platinum award is meaning you're intentional. Yeah, right. And you're being intentional about great relationships with people. Right. You're not just calling them because you want to sell their house.
No, most of the time I don't even talk about real estate when I call people. That's another big goal that I made for this year is that to do 30 coffees or lunches this year. So I usually kind of do that anyway, but now I'm being intentional about it. And so, and just meeting with people to get to know people, get better. Again, if they bring up real estate, I'll talk about it, but I usually don't really try to bring it up, and say, oh, are you looking to buy or sell your home? Right. I just want to be there as a friend for them. I mean, I post enough stuff. People know I sell real estate, so I don't really need to.
It's in the world.
It's in the world.
And exactly. And I would say, give me a percentage, but when you are having that lunch or coffee, what percentage of times does real estate come up?
Probably 70% of the time. And it's them
bringing it up. Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it really is. It's like, this is a people business. This is a professional's business. Yeah. And it's all about the relationships. And the more people that know you do real estate, that creates an opportunity. And if you're not intentional about it, then it's just not going to happen.
Well, and that's it too, again, going on Facebook or different, social medias and stuff, I back a few years ago, they're like, oh, you need to post everything only on your professional page. And I went against the grain. I disagreed with that. I was like, I think people want to know who I am and my business too. So I do have my professional page that pretty much only professional stuff gets posted, but I have my primary Facebook page and Instagram page that's where I post everything. I post about my kids, post about my business, post about my vacations, videos. I am doing more videos now. Yeah. Even though I'm going to get out of the comfort.
And this will be a short, so we'll be able to give that to you. Okay. Well, let the people on camera know how to get a hold of you, whether they're a real estate agent wanting to know more information about Keller Williams or a buyer, seller, whatever.
For sure. Okay. So I'm Sunny Burruss. My direct line is 425-239-4547. And then also my email address is sunnysellswa, that's a plural, cells at gmail.com. And then also my website is sunshineluxuryproperties.net or .com, either one. So awesome. Sunshineluxuryproperties.com. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Yep.
Appreciate it.